There have been some pretty complex gaming formats within the indie scene over the years. We have been tasked with exploring pocket solar systems in the outer wilds, we've pushed our little brains to their limits to break down the Inception-like puzzles within Cocoon, and we've had to master various card-based systems to conquer titles like Inscription and Slay the Spire. However, every now and again, we get an indie game that scales everything back, points at a mountain in the distance and says, "Hey, why don't you go climb that?" Of course, depending on the game you're referring to, they can get a little bit more nuanced than that as the game progresses, but the end goal remains the same. All you need to do is reach the top. It seems like a premise so simple that no game like this could possibly hope to hold your attention for hours on end, yet we have seen some marquee indie titles that have done just that. So we thought it would be cool to highlight some awesome games that simply have the player start from the bottom and clamber to the summit. So without further delay, here is Indie Game Culture's list of 8 amazing indies where you climb to the top. In at number 1 we have Jusant. We begin with the game that inspired this list, the recent meditative mountaineering epic known as Jusant. Jusant is a game that sees you climb through a mountain settlement that time seems to have forgotten. All the residents are long gone due to a devastating drought that rendered the mountain uninhabitable, and it's your job to explore, uncover the secrets of the mountain, and maybe even restore things back to the way they were. The highlight of this game is the climbing mechanics on offer, which aim to provide an experience that is as true to mountaineering as possible. Having reviewed this one personally, let me tell you, the climbing mechanics are some of the most cathartic and well implemented I have ever come across. It's a beautiful, tranquil, and challenging experience that you'll want to add to your wish list right away. In at number 2 we have Celeste. Celeste is a game that suffers from a strange phenomenon that the Zelda series also suffers from, where uneducated gamers will refer to Link as Zelda by mistake. So here's a PSA for all those out of the loop. Madeline is the main character in Celeste, and Celeste is the mountain you'll need to climb if you want to beat this game. Now that we have that all cleared up, Celeste is hands down the finest 2D platformer of the modern era, offering insanely tight platforming, a wonderful soundtrack, retro 8-bit visuals with a modern day polish, and a touching story that deals with the struggles of depression and the importance of mental health. It's a game that still enjoys a healthy player base thanks to a booming speedrunning community, and has more than cemented its status as a platforming Hall of Famer. So if you haven't gotten around to this one yet, now's the time. In at number 3 we have Journey. We have all heard the phrase that life isn't about the destination, it's about the journey. Well, if you've ever wanted to play a game that presents this idea in an artistically mind-blowing and beautiful way, then Journey's the game for you. Journey begins with you, the traveller, starting out staring at a distant mountain, and your goal is immediately clear. You need to climb that sucker. The game tells a silent tale through environmental clues, lush visuals, and an award-winning soundtrack, offering up one big metaphor for life, death, and the afterlife in video game form. Aside from running and jumping, you won't really do much else in this game, making it a very accessible puzzle platformer that just about anyone can play, yet despite this simplicity and lack of dialogue throughout, Journey offers a gaming experience that will stay with you forever. It's timeless, faultless in my opinion, and well worth your time. In at number 4 we have Bread and Fred. What you'll come to notice about most of these climbing adventures on this list is that most offer a very solitary experience, with plenty of time for introspection, meditation, and reflection. However, whenever you add in a second party to the mix, you soon realise that there isn't much room for introspection when you're tumbling down a mountain, screaming at your partner for messing up a jump. To give some context, Bread and Fred is a game where you play as 2 mountaineering penguins who are strapped together by ropes and harnesses, and your goal is to work together to cross gaps, avoid perilous drops, and ascend the mountain. It's a game where mistakes are often severely punished, where individual acts tend to spell trouble for both you and your penguin partner, but the wins taste all the sweeter when you finally come together as the dynamic duo you need to be. It's a challenging one, but if you want to tackle a huge climb with a friend, there is no better game on the market than Bread and Fred. In at number 5 we have Grow Home. You might have been fooled into believing that Jusant was the first game to think of having the player control individual limbs to climb, but this mechanic was around all the way back in 2015 in a little game called Grow Home. This game sees you take control of Bud as they aim to climb an ever-growing behemoth of a plant in the hope of saving the world. I will concede that at times Grow Home does feel more like a tech demo sandbox than a polished platformer, so I suppose Jusant is definitely the more refined of the procedural animation climbers on this list, but Grow Home still oozes fun and whimsy at every turn, has no set path to success, and offers players the freedom to explore this overgrowth climber in their own way. It's a little forgotten gem which, if you haven't played before, you need to give a try. In at number 6 we have Insurmountable. This is probably the most unique climbing game on this list, as the rest listed are out and out platformers, whereas Insurmountable is a roguelike strategy game akin to the likes of FTL Faster Than Light, where you need to choose your path up the mountain and will have to make difficult choices that could prove the difference between reaching the summit and freezing to death. It's a game for those who want a more traditional take on mountaineering and really want to agonise over the trials and tribulations that come with high altitude climbs. Not to mention, thanks to the roguelike format, no two climbs ever feel the same, with dynamic weather patterns, random encounters, and unique storylines playing out over the course of each run. Death in a lot of cases is inevitable, but it's about the thrill of the climb and testing the limits just to see how far you can get. No one ever said it was easy, but the view when you get to the top will make it all worthwhile. In at number 7 we have A Short Hike. To cleanse the palate after a grueling roguelike, we have A Short Hike, a game where you play as a little bird named Claire who must reach the top of the mountain to get cell phone reception and call her mum. Again, a simple premise that proves a little bit more tricky in practice. To get up there you will have to help the locals and collect feathers, which will grant you the ability to jump higher and climb farther. Then when you feel you're up to it, you can hop, glide and climb your way to the tippy top. Unlike most games on this list, A Short Hike is a very chill and relaxing endeavour with retro Dreamcast era visuals that fits neatly into the bracket of cozy gaming. There are collectibles, there's silly irreverent humour throughout, cute animal characters, and there's even a fishing minigame. I mean, what more could you ask for? It will be over before you know it, so be sure to savour your climb to the top of Hawk Peak when you play this one and have a great time. And in at number 8 we have Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. Lastly, we have what is easily the most cruel, sadistic and difficult game on this list. We have seen other games of this nature that have tried to recreate the pain and hardship caused by this title, such as Only Up and Pogo Stuck, but we want to highlight the OG, Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. Getting Over It is a rather surreal climbing experience where you will take control of a man seemingly trapped in a big pot of some sort, and with the use of a large hammer, you will have to latch onto anything you can to hoist yourself up over awkward platforms to the next area. As you might have guessed, these controls are intentionally awkward and ill-suited for the task at hand, and what makes matters even worse is that if you make any mistake, you could plummet right down to the bottom, undoing hours of hard-earned progress. It's truly the Dark Souls of climbing games, but if you feel you're up to the challenge, then by all means, take on the demanding platformer that is Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. And here we are at the summit of this list, and what a gorgeous view we have of all these amazing indies that allow us to climb with style. Sometimes a clear and simple goal to work towards is all you need, and these games prove that. We hope that this list inspires you to take on your next climb, and as always, thank you for watching Indie Game Culture. I've been Cal, and I'll see you next time.